All right, let's get started in Unit 4, Lesson 1, reviewing foiling. In the last unit, we foiled these things together, these or double distributed. X times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x, negative 3 times x, like that, and then negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6. Combine like terms in the middle, you get x squared minus x minus 6. So what we were looking for was an x squared plus 5x plus 6. And apparently the first one gives us this, which is not one of the other choices that we have. So it doesn't look like we'll be using A as a answer to any of these questions. So let's try the next one. We have x times x, negative 2x, negative 3x. Negative times a negative is a positive. So x squared, combine like terms, I get x squared minus 5x plus 6. That's that one. So apparently when there's two negatives in the middle, we get a negative first. And think about it. When a negative times a negative, we get a positive at the end. Okay? So how do I get two pluses? Well, I get two pluses in the trinomial by multiplying nothing but pluses. So let's check this one next. X squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6, combine like terms, x squared plus 5x plus 6. So E is the one for number 1. A double positive will result in a double positive in your trinomial. Okay? Over here, we remind a double negative will result in a negative first and then a positive. So let's check these last two. So if E belongs to the one above and B belongs to this one, we're left with two other ones to get a negative here and a negative here. So let's try this one. X squared, combine like terms, plus 5x minus 6. That is this one. So it must be this one's the answer. Let's check. Yep, that's the one that's going to get a negative 5x in the middle. So there's a very specific pattern of the signs in a trinomial that helps you figure out which product, which double distribution, which FOIL results in which trinomial. So when you go to pull them back apart, the signs are very, very important. So let's look here. Put this a little closer. Maybe. Sorry. Making you dizzy. Oh, there we go. Whoa. All right. So for lesson 1, unit 4, the objective is you'll be able to factor trinomials where the coefficient of the x squared is a 1. So factoring trinomials when a is 1. What are they talking about? Well, the first step in factoring a trinomial is to place the three terms in descending exponential order. In other words, the x squared goes first. Its numerical coefficient is considered or represented by an a, okay? When it's in this order, and that's an x squared. The b is the numerical coefficient to the x to the first power. That's how these are in order. And c, which is technically is the numerical coefficient to x to the 0 power. Remember, x to the 0 power you won't see. You'll see it as a constant, which is good for being a c. So this is the proper descending exponential order for a trinomial. If there are two variables, you'll have a square on one side of the one variable, typically alphabetically ordered. So the x is here and the y is squared at the end, and you'll have a mix of each in the middle. So these are the proper orders for these types of trinomials. So if we're factoring trinomials, when a is 1, you won't see a number in front of that x squared because it'll be a 1. Okay? So when we're factoring trinomials, you want to predict the signs of the solution to the problem by using the following format here. So this is kind of a formula. Well, not kind of. I would put this in your notes. I would keep it handy for every homework, and eventually you'll have it memorized. Okay? So when you are putting your trinomial in order and you have a positive and a positive in your trinomial, then your answer will have two positives in it. It has to. There's no exceptions to this rule. Okay? So it's worthwhile having this on a card or something. A flashcard would be very helpful. If you have an x squared and then a minus and then a plus, remember that came into play when you had two negatives, because this double negative will give you a positive on the end. It has to. Okay? And then this one is an x squared plus an x minus a c. So when a plus is first and then a minus, somewhere you're going to have one positive and one negative in your answer, okay? As well as when it's a negative negative, that will result in one positive, one negative somewhere. So the negative could be first and then the positive, but as long as there's one of each sign. So we refer to these two as an add of the factors, and these two as a subtracting the factors. Okay? Because the rest of the information says find all the factor pairs of C. The factor pairs of C that need to be added or subtracted from each other to match B. Try several ones to find which combination works. So this can only work one way when you factor a trinomial. These are the hints to help you figure out which is the answer. Okay, you can always double check by foiling again. Let me see if I can get this a little clearer here. Or not. Sorry, it's a little askew, but. All right, so let's try one of these. So here's a trinomial. Its numerical coefficient, or a, is 1. So we want to use this method. Then I've mentioned before, according to this chart up here, whoops, let me pull this down just a little bit. If you have an a plus an a, your answer is going to have two pluses in it. Okay? Plus and a plus gives a plus and a plus. Then I need factor pairs of C. Okay, in this case, our C is 18. So when it's a plus and a plus, we'll be adding factors. So this is my code, okay? This is, I don't know if you'll see this anywhere else, but this is how I do these. Works every time. So the one number that I have to factor, I write here. And then according to this chart, a plus and plus will result in a plus and a plus, where we'll be adding the factors together to get my B. Okay, my B is a 9, my A was a 1. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is write down 18 add, and then write down all the factor pairs of 18. So 1 times 18 equals 18, 2 times 9 equals 18, and 3 times 6 equals 18. And when I add the factor pairs together, I get 19, 11, and 9. That's my B that I was looking for. So that means my answer is a positive 3 and a positive 6. Okay? So we put them in there, and it doesn't matter because they're both the same sign where we put them. So they're both. So this is my final answer. If I want to check, I can FOIL this back. Combine like terms, and I'll get this 9x. Okay? Let's look at this one over here. We have x squared plus 3x minus 70. So a positive and then a negative. According to my chart up here, a positive and then a negative results in one positive and one negative somewhere, and we're going to be subtracting our factor pairs to get my B. So x squared plus 3x, so my A is a 1, so I can use this method. My B is a 3, and my C is a negative 70. Okay, so a 70, and it's a subtraction, not because it's a negative, but because these two forms say they're subtracting factors. So 70 and subtraction. Then all the factor pairs of 70. 1 times 70 is 70. 2 times 35 is 70. 5 times 14 is 70. And 7 times 10 is 70. So when I subtract them, I get 69, 33, 9, and 3, which is what I was looking for. Now to get a positive 3, I would have to take a negative 7 and a positive 10 to get a positive 3. Okay, so I know my signs are plus and minus, so I can start there. But then after I do this, I realize that the 7 is going to have to be negative. It doesn't have to be first. It can be put here, and this can be put there, and that can be typed in as your answer. Or that can be typed in as your answer, either one. But it has to be a negative 7 and a positive 3. So either one of these you FOIL back. You will get your x squared plus 3x minus 70. It's all about the signs. Okay, let me try this one over here. I don't know why it's fuzzy. Is there a focus on this thing? Let me see. There we go. Alrighty, so let's try this again. My A is 1, so I'm going to follow this method. I have a negative and then a positive. According to my chart up here, a negative and a positive will result in 2 negatives, and it's an add. So I'm going to go back down here. It will result in 2 negatives. That's an add. My C goes here, right? This is the C. And this is a system that works every time. So use it, don't use it. Totally up to you. Sometimes what happens if you use it in the beginning, you don't need it at the end. Okay, so this is really a training thing. All right, so factors of 3. It's not very complicated. A 1 and a 3. Now, since I'm adding them together, I'm going to get a 4, and that's what we wanted, was a 4. And you'll notice if you put a 1 here and a 3 here, these are negatives. So when you FOIL, that's my answer. So, but when I FOIL this back, I can check. Negative times negative is a positive. That's a 1 and a 3 will be your 4. Okay? So that's pretty easy when the numbers are small. So let's try this one here. Negative, negative. According to the chart, a negative, negative is a subtract. So my final answer will be 1 positive and 1 negative, and we're going to be subtracting. You can put this negative here if you want. It doesn't matter. We're just doing factors of 20. So 1 and 20. Don't forget the 1. Sometimes it's the answer, okay? 2 and 10. I try to go numerically. If 3 goes into 20, we're thinking about our divisibility rules. 3 does not go into 20 and get a whole number. 4 does. Okay, I think that's it. And I need to subtract them to get what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is an 8. So that's here. Now to get a negative 8, I'm going to have a negative 10. So I'm going to have the 10 here and the 2 here to make it. And then a quick check, foil it back. That will give me my negative x, my negative 8. Okay, so that's my final answer there. What do we got over here? Oh, we have a double, 2 variables, 2 different variables. Is this in the proper order? Yes, it is. Got the squares on each end. Okay, but then the signs also apply. So a negative and then a positive results in 2 negatives. So I write the A's here, I write the B's here, and then I'm looking for the numbers that go in here the same way. What is my C? My C is a 14. And according to the chart, when you have a double negative, we're adding our factors together to get our 9. Okay, so 1 and 14, 2 and 7, right here is your add them together and get a 9. And since they're both negative, it doesn't really matter where I'm putting them. So 2 and 7. And that will get you what you need. This is it. Foil it back to check if you want. This is a negative 7ab, negative 2ab. Negative times a negative is a positive 14b squared. Combine like terms, you get an a squared minus 9ab plus 14b squared. Okay, so my final answer was here. Sorry, it's underneath all that. That was a minus 2, a minus 7. Oops, 2b, 7b. That was my answer. All right, let's try this one. Positive, positive is going to give us 2 positives. We had 20, but we're going to add 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And adding them, I get a 12. So it's the 2 and the 10 again. Okay, so that was a 2 and a 10 and looks really different. That was a 2 and a 10, but remember, it's all about the signs. You foil this back, you will get that. Okay, hope that was helpful.